G'day and welcome to the Campfire Project. Today I'm here with Ian Westmoreland, who is the founder and CEO of Kintsugi Heroes. And after 42 years career across Australia and New Zealand, telecommunications and energy sections, Ian stepped away from paid work to dedicate himself to community service, including founding the Mentoring Men and later Kintsugi Heroes. Ian was awarded with the Order of Australia Medal, the OAM, for his outstanding service for men's health and youth. And his work continues to give people a platform to share real stories and resilience that bring hope to others who are facing adversity. Ian, you were in the Campfire Project quite a number of years ago. I think it was when you were in Mentoring Men. So it's been quite a while since we last spoke. And I love getting people back to talk about what's been happening over the years. And I know you've got a brilliant story and it needs to be shared. So what I'm going to do is hand it over to you and say, right, from our last conversation, where's everything's been going?
Well, good afternoon, Alan, and happy Australia Day. And thanks for spelling out OAM. My wife tells me it's Old Angry Man, but it's Order of Australia. Gee, there's been so much happening since we last spoke on the Campfire Project. I guess the two biggest things would be, and you mentioned Kintsugi Heroes, and the second thing, I guess, is a bit of a health journey. So maybe if I start with Kintsugi Heroes. So the catalyst for this was as a kid growing up, the lack of confidence and self-esteem that I had. Uh, I remember setting a goal as a teenager, if only I could be average, if only I could get to the average mark. That's where I saw myself. And I'd seen the power of stories to build hope and some more confidence in me, the Nelson Mandela type stories. Fast forward probably 10 years, as I read more and more stories, I came up with this idea that if we could get, and back then I had thought it had to be famous people, share their stories as a Kintsugi hero, with a host who's also famous, it would give hope and inspiration to the Ians of the world. And in August 1993, it's almost before you were born, Alan, but in August 1993, I sent a note to a number of community leaders about this idea to get, hoping that one of them, a famous person, would then be able to get other people to share their stories and to let them know about this idea. And one of the people I wrote to was Dick Smith, the well-known entrepreneur. And he took the time to send me back a handwritten note. And it said, "Dear Ian, this is a great idea." And then he added, "You do it." And I still got the letter. I've still got the letter I sent out. I've still got Dick Smith's letter. Now, fast forward to 2022. As you mentioned, I'd established Mentoring Men. It was booming at the end of 21. I was just about burnt out. I stepped aside from that in end of 2021. After 2 or 3 months off, I decided to progress that idea that I had back in August 1993. And back then it was just a book that was going to help almost write itself because these people would share their stories. But clearly technology had moved on and it became still a book, but a podcast, a radio broadcast, short films and events, a number of things like that. So Kintsugi Heroes, when I let a few people know I was going to progress this project, one of the contacts I met, in fact, the guy who developed the Mentoring Men mentor workshop, came back to me and he said, "Ian, I've got the name for your project." I said, "Oh, what is it, Mark?" And he said, "Kintsugi." And I said, "I've never heard of it. What is it?" And he explained it's that Japanese craft where they take broken pottery and put it back together. And the repaired product is far more beautiful and
Mm.
valuable than the original piece. And as soon as I heard that, it just resonated. What a brilliant metaphor for our lived experience. The grief, the addiction, disability, relationship breakdown, trauma, abuse, every type of adversity. So it's based on I guess, the scientific, proven power of storytelling. So we record stories like this, and Alan, it was great to have you on as one of our Kintsugi heroes. But we record people's stories, we edit them, and we publish them as YouTube podcasts, audio podcasts, radio broadcasts. We put the stories into books. In fact, you're at the book launch. We launched books 5 and 6 just before Christmas in the Hornsby Library. And we're seeing some dramatic impacts of doing those stories in line with what the science says. So far we've done over 300 stories. We've covered all sorts of adversity themes, and we've had the feedback we've had around those stories. At the moment, we've got about 15 projects running, including Indigenous stories, the roles that animals can play in our mental health, migrant and refugee stories, cancer stories, disability, LGB, and I always forget the other acronym stories. But it's all aimed at giving hope and inspiration, I guess improving mental health. I started this on my own, but it's grown. We're now a registered charity with DGR status. I asked people to, I've established a board, governance, so there's a whole lot of process stuff around that. And I've also advertised for volunteers to help support what we're doing. And I'll advertise on Seek Volunteer and I get bombarded. I've actually got to turn the ads off. So at the moment, we've got about 60 people involved, mostly Australia-wide, but some overseas, and really excited about the future where that's heading. And I guess one of the main areas, and I'll talk about a health challenge at the moment, but I'm a poor delegator. So I've got these people who are keen to work, but I guess I like things done my way. I sometimes lack the patience around that. But we've brought in a co-CEO, amazing guy, Dan Doherty. So we'll be co-CEOing this stuff. And depending on what happens with me, I could progressively step back, but it's all steam ahead. And I love the conversations that I have through this Kintsugi Heroes. So, yeah, I don't know if you had any questions around what we're doing.
Yeah, well, a couple of statements, actually. First of all, the value of those stories are twofold. For the person who listens to them, as you said, the hope that they can realize that, hey, other people have been through maybe not the same thing, but something similar, and they've come out the other side. But for the person who tells the story, as you said, it's like that bowl has been broken and brought together in the way they do it with gold and making it more valuable. That the people who, once you stop and have a look at what you've done, because one of the biggest issues I know when I was growing up, if something wasn't working, something was going wrong, I felt I was failing. And so there I was less than what I was the day before. Well, in reality, because of that, the Kintsugi belief and understanding behind it, you're more valuable because now you've learnt those lessons, you're now passing those on. So anybody who comes along who's got a story should come and talk to you because they get so much value out of it. And everybody who listens to or reads those stories gets the value out of it as well.
Yeah, we surveyed the people who shared their stories across a number of different things, and the results were just brilliant. Virtually everyone who shared their story, it was therapeutic for them to actually truly be heard. We asked why they did it, and there was a number of reasons, but just this desire to give back, support other people who may be going through the same adversity experience they went through. In the vast majority of cases, these people had people who'd watched or listened to their stories come back to them and thank them, or set up start communicating around it. So incredibly beneficial for the people who shared their stories. And the second point you mentioned around the people who hear them, and often we think when we're going through a challenge that we're the only ones who've gone through that challenge, or the only ones who feel that way while we're going through that challenge. But when you hear that other people with where you relate to the storyteller, you relate to the story, you relate to the adversity theme, then it gives such hope and inspiration. And yeah, so it's right. It's beneficial to both the storyteller and the story receiver.
Exactly. It's absolutely brilliant. So where do you see this going? Where would you like to see the growing into the future?
I've got some really big dreams here, and I don't know whether I'll see those. It'll be alive to see them. I'd love Kintsugi Heroes to become a household name. It's an organization where people go out and search for stories or want to get behind. We are currently expanding around seeking grant opportunities and corporate sponsorships. there's a number of things happening in that space. It's a very competitive marketplace around podcasts and around
Mm.
charity organisations. It's a tight time. We apply for grants, but I'm confident that we'll get somewhere with that. It'll become sustainable. It started on with my wife and I putting money in, and many of the projects that we're currently running, I call them passion projects. We've got no funding for it, but
No,
we're
definitely.
going to do them anyway.
Mm.
The second thing is we've lost the village. The village, I grew up in an environment where I knew all the neighbours. We get the eggs from Mrs.
Mm.
House down the road. We never had a telephone, but Mrs. Ryan, two houses down, had a telephone. We would give her number, and when there's a phone call for us, she would come up and tell us. If we had to
Mm.
make a phone call, we'd go down there, leave sixpence. That's how long ago it was. Sixpence, and we'd make an outgoing call. And I got up to mischief, but with all the kids in the area out running around the neighbourhood, and I remember this cartoon, and I referred to it mentoring them, but it's relevant to what I was discussing just then. And it's a cartoon that shows when I was being as a young guy, and then the cartoon what I would be like now. And in the first cartoon, there's a mum there by the front door. The son is outside, and she's got him by the ear, and she's trying to drag him in. And he's got the ball under his arm here. And you can imagine the conversation. The street lights are on. You come in and come and have your dinner. Trying to
That's
drag
it.
him in. And the cartoon nowadays, the mum's by the front door, but the kid's inside. He's a
Mm.
little bit fatter or even heading towards obese. She's got him by the ear, trying to drag him out, and he's holding on to
Mm.
his gaming console because he doesn't want to go outside.
Mm.
And we've moved from that sedentary lifestyle of being these kids being locked in a room
Mm.
on mindless games. Some of my grandkids, they only watch someone playing online. It's like Minecraft or something like. And
Mm.
I just don't get it.
No,
As opposed to being outside, there's definite benefits of the sun in terms of our physical health, getting out playing footy or cricket or whatever out in the street, and also the social relationships around that. So that's another dream, is that every week or every fortnight in the local library or local community centre, a group of people get together, possibly with a facilitator,
mm.
and share stories and listen to
Mm.
stories. We get back that art of conversation. In fact,
Mm.
we're running a workshop in Hornsby RSL on the 26th of Feb. The guy who developed the Mentoring Men mentoring workshop, Mark Henderson, has developed
Mm.
this beautiful thing based on Kintsugi. It's got the Gestalt theory and
Mm.
motions wheel and all that. So I'd love to see this roll out across Australia where we get people communicating again. There's been cases where someone's been dead for like 6 months in their house, and no one's bothered. No one's known.
Mm.
What an appalling reflection on society.
Yeah,
And
well,
we
that's
built
it.
it. Yeah.
The first person to take notice will be the utility organisations who haven't been paid for their phone or their gas or electricity. And that's how we find out that someone's passed away.
Yeah.
And
Well, this,
as far as that workshop goes, I'll make sure you give me the details after this call so I can then make sure they go into the post as it goes up as well.
thanks, Al. We'll do that. Like, I connected with the loneliness report. So there's someone, a group produced a report on loneliness statistics in Australia. They don't do anything about it. They just their job is just to
Mm.
produce the report. And surprisingly, it showed a fairly even rate of loneliness across all age demographics.
Mm.
And that surprised me. I understand the older generation, but the biggest one just slightly was, I think it was 18 to 24,
Mm.
which when you think about it is shocking. And one of the projects that we ran, in fact, you were there for the book launch, Connecting
Mm.
Seniors, and our primary aim was to help address loneliness and isolation amongst seniors. But I think the
Mm.
art of connection could apply across all age groups. So that's, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a dream. Whether that will happen in my lifetime, Alan, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think what it comes down to, we have these dreams, we have these passion projects, and it's the only name to really give them because they come from our heart. And that is that we're always going to add to it. So I know that all the way through your experiences of creating more stuff and more stuff. And of course, there's always going to be something that we come up with that none of us are going to live to experience because we're always going right to the wire all the time.
Yeah. But I guess with Kintsugi Heroes and with what you do, the resources we provide will be there post.
Mm,
I mean, our online resources will be available forever.
that's
So
it.
we could be impacting, even with our own kids. You know, your
Mm,
legacy lives on through those. So,
that's it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, there's that old saying that what you do for yourself dies with you, but what you do for others in the community is and always will be eternal.
yeah,
And so I think that's what, we get to a certain point in our life that we're no longer just looking after, I don't, no, it's not the boat, they're not the house, and not the holidays and everything else is important to it. It's what have we actually done with our life? What connections have we made?
yeah. And for me, I had a key turning point at 59 and a half, which I shared back in when we first spoke.
Mm.
But I love the Mark Twain quote: "The two most important days in your life are the day you're born, and then the day you work out why." And for
Mm.
me, the why happened on the 10th of September, 2013. It's been a hell of a ride since then. Yeah,
Yeah, I think we stop when we look back at our lives, we see it as one thing. Like mine, first 50 years of my life was just trying to create relationships for myself, doing a lousy job of it, changed my attitude to helping other people. And the byproduct, without trying to create my own relationships, I've had so many people come to me. So my connections with people are greater than what they were when I was trying to do it.
yeah,
So when you bring other people into it, it really changes.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, can I also mentioned there've been a couple of significant things since we last spoke, and the next one,
Mm.
it's a bit of a health journey, and
Mm.
again, it goes back to childhood, to being ignorant of the damage that sun can do. Um, Even putting to the extent of putting, I think, coconut oil to get a healthy tan. There was this attitude, can't wait to summer to get burned again. I know this resonates with you, Alan, because I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
the scars on your back and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So I played a huge amount of tennis outside in the sun, lots of other stuff. In fact, as a kid, I remember running around without a shirt on, and these blisters formed all over my shoulder. And
Mm.
my nana got a needle, put some thread
Mm.
in it, and she's threading the needle through the blisters to drain all the fluid out. Fast forward, I guess over 40 years, and then the skin damage started to appear, and I had what they call the trifecta: melanoma, squamous cell, and basal, which sounds like food to me. I may be pronouncing that wrong. And lots of stuff being frozen off, lots of stuff cut out, and yeah, lots of damage. And then about 3 years ago, something came up here, and I said to my wife, "What is that?" She said, "I looked all right," and it just stayed there. And later on, I went to a doctor. He had a look at it and said, "Oh, you probably should go and get that checked out, but it looks all right." And then I booked in because I've been seeing the skin specialist over all the other stuff, and I booked in to see him, and then he cancelled because he got crook. So I booked in again, and he cancelled because he got crook. So we're now going through several months. And I mentioned someone in my family, and they said, "Oh, they've got a connection to this GP not far away who had a bit of experience with this." So I went down there, spoke to her. She said, "Oh, looks all right. I'll take a biopsy." And then the next day, she rang, and I was on just getting ready to go for a bike ride. That's another thing I do out in the sun. I love bike riding. And she said, "Ian, can I see you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm about to go for a bike ride. Is it urgent?" And she said, "Well, yeah, it's urgent." So I went and saw her, and that was it was a melanoma. So it needed to be cut out. So I booked in to see a plastic surgeon, and he chopped out a big chunk here.
Mm.
They take out a margin, I think it's 5 mil or something all around it. And then they do a test to see that they've got it all. And it came back, yeah, we got it all.
Mm.
So that was okay. Had to put some, like, you barely see the scar and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
And then I guess 2 years later, this lump started to come up here, and didn't think much about it. And then ultimately I went down, they did a biopsy, and the melanoma had come from here to here. And the agreed action was they going to cut this out. It's quite complex because it's around one of the arteries. So in the end, they cut me from here all the way down here, cut out the melanoma, and also took out a number of lymph nodes. And when they did the PET scan, a PET scan's a scan that shows active cancer. They found another one a small one in my thyroid. So I got two for the price of one. They cut that out as well. And I thought that was it. But just for precautions, they then put me on a immunotherapy. Now, immunotherapy, in my view, is a lot smarter than chemotherapy, but it's a new way of treating a number of different types of cancers, especially melanoma. So I went on 12 months of immunotherapy on this drug called Nevo and a whole bunch of other letters, but they call it Nevo. Regular PET scans, no sign of anything at all. So done and dusted, move on. But I still had PET scans after, and so after 12 months, stopped the Nevo. The second PET scan 6 months later showed some small lumps in my lungs, and went and had I think I then went and had a biopsy done of the lumps in the lungs, and it was melanoma again. So the agreed action was to then go on what they call the sledgehammer, which is Nevo plus this other immunotherapy drug called Ipi. And so I was having both of those, and Ipi can have serious side effects. And I got through to the third round of Ipi, and then I just had this chronic diarrhea. I was going to the toilet like 20 times a day, and I went to hospital with this colitis, and I dropped 20 kilos in 6 weeks, 20 kilos. And I was going to die. They looked at my gut. The gut specialist says the worst case of colitis he'd seen. And I guess the good news then, when they did another PET scan, and my immune system had reacted, and officially the cancer was in remission. But then, because of the colitis, which I was going to die, they then put me on massive doses of steroids. And steroids, like, they're a super drug, but they have so many bad side effects. And that was going to help get my immune system back under control. So started pumping all these steroids in, and then a couple of other special infusions. They normally don't have. I had 2 of them normally, so people don't need them at all. And one will almost always fit it. I needed 2 of these things. And finally, the colitis stopped, but then the next PET scan showed that the cancer was now no longer in remission, was active again. So the theory is that the steroids had affected my immune system so much that it lost the ability to fight the cancer. And then at the same time, a brain scan showed that I had a number of tumors in my head. So right at this moment, I've got 8 small tumors in my brain, and some in my lungs and some outside my lungs. In fact, that helmet there, when you go for a radiation treatment, they mold this thing for your head. So they want to keep your head locked in, and you basically bolted to this table. And then this robot comes around you firing radiation. And they do all 8 tumors at one time. And I've got a scan in a couple of weeks to see whether that's how that's impacted. I saw the oncologist on the 8th of January. I had a number of ideas of what to put to him on the way forward, and he basically knocked each of those. And I said, well, when should I book in to see you? And the last thing he said to me, well, there's really no point booking in to see me. So at that point, the best hope looked like a clinical trial. And I'm waiting to hear back from them. Very hard to get into a clinical trial. They're very particular about the people they take in. They don't want, with my case, a bit more complex. It's not just melanoma. There was a thyroid cancer, and I've been through this treatment. But they did some blood tests and a bunch of other tests that they wanted to check out. Now, I want to take it into a bit more controversial, and I guess I should preface this by saying I'm not qualified in any medical thing or in anything else, really. I learned from my own lived experience.
Mm.
And in this journey, I've been bombarded with mostly well-meaning people who have got their favorite thing to prevent or address cancer. And if you go on the internet or whatever and you'll see, Diary of a CEO, I'll go on a keto diet, eat nothing but meat. And the next person, no, go on a vegetarian diet. And then there's people trying to sell you stuff, and it's a whole bunch of things around that. And it take these medications. I've got probably 50 different sorts of capsules and all that sort of stuff. Very confusing, and it can cause like it just muddles you sometimes.
Plays on the mind.
So 3 days ago, a mate I used to work with 12 years ago sent me something around another idea that he had. Well, he'd seen something and he just thought, well, a lot of people, I've got a huge amount of support, Alan, both within my family and outside that family, well-meaning people. So this guy sent me this thing. I thought, oh, here we go again. And basically they've had success with giving worming tablets they give to animals as a way to prevent or address cancer. Now, on the surface, that sounds like nuts, but I've gone and checked, and I'm not recommending this for anyone. I'll let people know what happens, but I'm going to do this. I've ordered the capsules, and there's some evidence around this. And it's a much bigger story, but it's anyway. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. I'm waiting to hear back on the clinical trial, but I'm going to take this drug that's been around for many decades. It's out of copyright, so basically anyone can produce it, which would be one of the reasons the pharmaceutical companies wouldn't be interested. There's a lot of money tied up in cancer treatment, pharmaceutical companies, oncologists, and all that sort of stuff. Here is something that's I've just bought a year's worth of capsules for like $120. The injections in my arm of immunotherapy, $7,000 per injection. So here's something with incredibly low risk. It's been used for decades. A large, be careful what I say here, a number of people in the tens that I'm aware of have used this, and it's been people in hospices, in palliative care, no other chance of taking this and back at work and stuff like that. So the reason they found it was that lots of animals, particularly dogs, get cancers. They were giving them the worming thing, and then the cancers would disappear. And then there's a famous guy, Joe, someone who had a death sentence with a cancer. His mate was in the vet, tried this, and then it went on. So not recommending anyone do this, but this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things that come into it. It's a case of, well, first of all, something comes out of this. The first thing is, as you said, so many people have been giving, trying to send you information, advice, and things you could try, which shows just how many people out there know you, respect you, and care for you. So that's wonderful to know from that point of view, which has got to affect how you think about things and the chemicals in your body creates. So that's got to be an advantage. As far as the other stuff goes, nobody knows until you try it. Something that works for one person may not work for another. You don't know until you try it. But if the remedies you're going through are costing so much, and the pills are only going to cost you a tiny fraction of it, and there wouldn't be many side effects. The only thing is, do you lick yourself after you've taken all the for animals? But other than that, well, you're willing to try it.
I don't think I'll have any worms either. But it's interesting when you look. So let me set the scene. In January, February last year, for my age, then I was 71, super fit. My wife and I just done this extensive walking around Tasmania, some amazing walks over there. I'd set a goal to ride 7,500 kilometers in 2025, and I was well ahead of that. Fully capable. Come forward to just after the middle of the year, diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, weight had plummeted, spent many months in hospital. And one of the impacts of the sudden weight loss is a thing called drop foot, which I'd never heard of before, but because of the weight loss, it damaged the nerves, the sciatic nerve, I think it is, that goes down all the way down to your feet. And I lost the ability to walk. That's why I think I showed you a photo earlier. I had a walker. Gradually, the nerve is repairing itself. But I've gone from up here in terms of physical capability to down here. The dominant emotion I had in hospital was gratitude. And I remember vividly, there's one point, and I'm still going to the toilet 20 times a day, and I used to be embarrassed to share this, but I learned the benefit of pull-up nappies. It's like pull-ups, they call them, and it was such a great asset to have in hospital when you're in that situation. And I remember standing in the shower. They've got things you can hold so you don't fall over, and the hot water was running over my body, and just thinking how good life is. And I think in that situation, many of us would focus on what we've lost. I focused on what I had, and there's still and we talked about this before we started the recording, but just before the blessing of the family and the friends, and there's still so many great things that we've got in our lives, even though we've lost other things. And I hope those other things come back. But it really surprised me that the gratitude. Also, I guess you start thinking around death, and there's a lot worse things than dying. The process of dying doesn't enthuse me much. But so I've been along that journey. I'm doing everything I can to progress and get through this, because there's so many things that I want to do. But there's already a legacy, what we talked about before. Yeah.
As you said, the gratitude, that's so important, and people don't, put enough value on it, I don't think, especially, men, especially where we were brought up, men don't cry, you suck it up and all the rest of it, brave face and all the rest. But every thought we have creates a chemical in our body, and those chemicals either feed us or eat us. It all depends on where our thoughts are. If we're feeling gratitude and everything else, those chemicals floating that we're creating through our brain, floating through our body, have got to be more valuable to us. And so by having that choice to decide, right, now I'm going to have gratitude, I'm not going to focus on the downside of things, I'm focusing on the possibilities, etc. Now, some people might say that, well, that's being unrealistic and everything else. But the whole thing is, if you got that state, you enjoy that period of time. And even if you don't go beyond that time that was, pointed out that you get to and then pass away, you've got a better time in between.
Yeah.
And with the right things going through your body, there's a chance you'll extend that time anyway.
Definitely having a positive attitude increases the prognosis. And look, I think a lot of people, and I'm not judging them, but in my situation, well, look, why are you spending all these hours as a volunteer? I've been a full-time volunteer for the last 12 years. Why are you doing all this 7 days a week when you should be out doing some other stuff? And I get that. But I enjoy this, Alan. I enjoy these conversations. I meet some amazing people through that. And then at the end of it, it's just, I'm so glad to meet them. And it's about giving back. It's the joy of trying to, help someone else in their life journey. That's what drives me and motivates me. And I've loved my life more than at any other stage. And I've got this great family, but I love what I do. And so I've never been happier than what I am at the moment.
Fantastic. So what there's great words of wisdom in that, alone for people and that, but what else would you just say to people that they could pick up and use for their own direction as well?
Good question. I've never been asked before. One of the things I found was the power of mentoring. When you can find someone that you trust, who will not judge you, who will listen to you, who will keep it confidential, you can open up to and share what's really going on in your life. It's incredible, like what I shared before, it's incredibly therapeutic when you can speak and know that you're being
Mm,
truly heard. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and I give this talk around, I guess, I use the Monty Python thing, the meaning of life. Um, we are conditioned through advertising and through other things to be materialistic, to become,
mm,
it's a bigger house, and it's so unfulfilling. It's
mm,
just pig slop.
mm,
And, I mean, money's important and all that sort of stuff, but far better. What I just shared before, the last 12
mm,
years of my life as a volunteer has been far more fulfilling
mm,
than striving for money. And I get the striving for money. Like we were poor at
mm,
one stage and kids and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know how you get that across. I think other
mm,
people think, oh, Ian's just a loser. He's doing all this work and he's not getting any money for it.
mm,
Why is he doing that? And if only I could that, get people to understand what that is. And it's, oh, I'm not doing this because it makes me feel good. I'm doing this because I love the opportunity of trying to help someone else. But the
mm.
end fruit of that is it gives you that genuine fulfillment.
That's
Um,
it. It's also supporting somebody else at the same time as well.
yeah,
It's not just the money itself. We've got enough to be able to survive and everything else. You're not going to take it with us when we go. So be able to enjoy that life. So, if you're talking about your kids, your grandkids, great grandkids, things like that, what are they going to see more importantly? A financial inheritance they get later on, or is it all that time they spent with you and that connection and everything else? What are they going to remember?
yeah. Well, when I thought it'd be a great idea to go on a cruise with my kids, but especially my grandkids. So on the 8th of January, we hopped on a boat and went out the Pacific Ocean to a few places, and there was 18 of us. I had 10 of my grandkids on that boat. And I said, I'm struggling to walk. And you throw the boat into it as well. So,
Mm,
but the grandkids would race alongside and grab my hand, and just that having that little bit of
mm,
steadying. And they had an absolute ball. And that will be a memory that will stick with them for
mm,
ages. A chance to spend some time with granddad, and B,
mm,
they just had an amazing time. This boat, you could surf on the boat. They had this thing called the flow rider. And then there's this thing, where you pump air up really fast, and you it's like you're skydiving. So they had the grandkids are in that. They had dodgem cars and like lots of other stuff apart from spending time with me. But it was a memorable time, and
mm.
yeah, they'll remember that forever. So
That's it. It's one of the reasons why doing the with the Campfire Project, all the people, as you said, for them to be able to find someone who they can trust to just hold their space without being criticised and everything else. They may think that that's quite special for them, but it's also very special for the person like myself who stops and listens to those conversations.
yeah,
I'm very grateful for all the people who have come to me and have shared both men and women who have shared their time with me and shared those stories. And every time I listen to their stories is one of the reasons why we record these, not only put them in the group itself, but a copy goes to the person that I was interviewing at the time or talking to at the time. Because I don't really see these as interviews. I see these as, discussions, catch-ups, the chance for me to learn something that I never knew before. And so that then, not only do your grandchildren have those experiences, there's a lot of lessons in these conversations that can be shared with them so they get the other side of it as well.
yeah.
So they can make their own choices.
Yeah, one of my 10-year-old granddaughters said, "Oh, Granddad, I saw you your podcast on," and so they're watching this stuff. So as you
Mm,
said before, this stuff is around for ages, and I've got a book of my story, a life story, sort of underway. It just keeps getting prioritized down. I just run out of time, but I'd love to get that finished and then even be added on to so that the
mm,
kids and the grandkids. So it's like a never-ending story, but.
mm.
Um, that's on the list. If I knew an end date, I'd schedule to that. But I've got about 200 pages there.
Mm,
But there's so many other things happening. Just it's hard to
mm.
prioritize.
Well, it's like those perpetual stories where one person talks about their life and everything else, and as they pass, the next person, generation then starts this, finishes that little bit off, talks about that passing of the one before, and then starts their story. And so That sort of stuff's absolutely brilliant, especially when it goes down through a number of generations and the connection then that's between all of those and the stories then that go forward as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Love
great.
it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Excellent. Well, Ian, it's been really brilliant having you back on here and having a chat. You did ask me before about we've been busy with the Business of Smiles, with what Scott's doing in Melbourne and everything else, and there's been other areas in which I've been working. But this year we're getting back to getting more people coming in and telling the one-on-one stories. So for the people who are listening to this, I hope you've really got value out of it, but also think about what stories you have that you'd like to share those as well. Put your hand up and come in and have the conversations with me. And by the way, they're recorded, so you get a choice to determine whether you want people to hear it or not. At the same time, once you've done those, we can get into more panel discussions where we can start talking about subjects that you might have a passion for or that you realise the community needs to know more about. So, Ian, thanks very much for being part of this, and thanks for inviting me into Kintsugi Heroes, because when I came down to Sydney when you were promoting the books, I came down just to be there a support for you, and I got surprised I was actually in one of the books. So thank you very much for
Uh,
that.
Look, thank you for the support you give us and just for what you do in making the world a better place. We need
Well,
more like that. So
that's what we're all there for. And the funny thing is, we're just finding more and more people who've got the same heart, which is absolutely brilliant.
yeah,
So,
good.
Ian, thanks very much. And to everybody else, thank you for being here and get involved more with your community. Go and check out the Kintsugi Heroes and share that knowledge with people as well. And you're available to get in touch with, are you, Ian?
Absolutely. Probably I'm very active on LinkedIn, so there's not too many Ian Westmorelands there. Or you can reach me at ian@kintsugiheroes.com.au.
Excellent. Okay, and everybody can see how that's spelt on your T-shirt if they wonder how the word's actually spelt. Okay, thanks very much, and to everybody else, we'll see you on the next campfire. Bye for
Thanks.
now.
Thanks, Alan.